GB Music Group here in Dorado, Puerto Rico, and I was just on Facebook talking, to a couple of people, and a friend of mine actually, in the conversation, gave me an idea that I wanted to mention regarding solar living. Like earlier today, I was on my roof and I installed a new panel, and and if you guys wanted to check that out, and a lot of people they know about solar, but they think they probably have a misconception about solar, and it isn't until you live off grid on solar that you really understand these points. Because I could explain it to you, but you really wouldn't understand fully the whole thing until you're actually living off grid. Now, that being said, an analogy came out, and what I said is like, what I told my friend on Facebook, we were talking about this, is that solar is kind of like it's kind of like when you have a prepaid phone, you know, that your minutes are limited, so even though because I remember when prepaid phones first came out, they gave you like 200 minutes. I mean, that's like really really bad. Then with time, prepaid phones gave you 1,000 minutes, 2,000 minutes, and you reach the point that you're like, man, I reached the end of the month and I still have minutes left over. So when you have a decent sized solar system, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like having a prepaid phone that has a pretty good amount of minutes, but you still keep like a certain restraint in terms of it. You know what I mean? And so like me, I live on solar. My entire house is all on solar, and and I run everything on solar. You know, now um, when you run everything on solar, you create a conscience in your mind, and you say, hey, I can do this. I shouldn't do this at the same time. Like for example, I'll give you the perfect example. I have on my system, I have more than enough power, but I have certain things that are running 24/7, like the refrigerator, like the modem, lights. Generally have lights on at night, or during the day. And certain things I have running all the time. Other things I don't have running all the time. So, like for example, today woke up, my wife had to do her hair. She uses the flat iron, and she has pretty long hair, so it takes her at least 2 hours, 2 or 2.5 hours to do her flat ironing on her hair. So what we do is when the day's sunny, it doesn't matter. You're free. Just use it. It's unlimited. I mean, the sun is out. And my system is pretty big, and to feel free in terms of how we use it. So hey, she does her hair. Everything's running. Her flat iron's running. Everything's running. Batteries are charging. Now what happens is if the day starts off kind of cloudy, even though we only use, and let me tell you, we use our power, but we're only using about 25% of the power that we have, in storage. And I like keeping it at that because we get recharged very quickly because of the fact that we don't use that much power. But I'm not really, you know, um, skimping on the power that I use. I'm not. It's just when you have solar, you start, you know, you see the light on. If you're not using it, you turn it off. You change the kind of light bulbs that you buy, and you create this really strong awareness of not wasting power. You know, and which is a very good thing. And I think everybody should experience solar at some point in time because I believe that if you learn how to deal with solar when you are on the grid, you actually will save a lot of money. I mean, now that I live on solar, I notice how much people waste. People will turn on the TV when they're on the grid, and they'll leave it on. They'll go to another room, and they're over there talking on the phone in the other room, and they left the lights on in the living room and the TV running, and that's how people live. And they don't feel it to the end of the month when the bill comes in. I'm like, oh man. So the same thing. So with solar, it's kind of like a prepaid phone. I think that was like the best analogy. Um, but if you build a pretty decent sized system, Okay, let me go back because I started rambling. So my wife on a regular day, she has to do her flat iron. She does it. Okay. Now, if the day starts off cloudy, then I'll tell her wait at least an hour. So instead of 9 o'clock in the morning, start doing your flat iron at 10. To give her a chance for the sun to come out. Generally, on my system, I have seven deep cycle batteries in parallel with two. That's a total about, I would say, about 600 and something amp hours. That's about 7,000 watts worth of power. Um, we only use 25% of that. Deep cycle batteries, it's preferred for people to use them at most to 50%. If you use it more than 50%, you get damage on the battery, and the batteries will die out sooner. So since my battery bank is so big in comparison to what I use, if I have 600 plus almost 700 amp hours, yet I'm only using 25% of that, man, when I wake up in the morning, sun comes out, 1 hour, two, tops, 3.5 hours, my entire battery bank is back and charged. You know, it charges really swiftly, so the batteries don't suffer. Even if it's a cloudy day, because of the fact that there wasn't so much, you know, um, power wasted, it charges back. So I get a full charge every single day, even on rainy and cloudy days. The sun will come out like 2 hours. That'll be enough to, you know, recharge the bulk of what I wasted. And then, even if the day is kind of cloudy, but there's still sun coming in. So, you know, on occasion, that when if there's like a storm, and I know that the entire day is gonna be really gloomy, then what I do is just as a preventative measure, I turn on the generator, and I recharge the batteries for like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, just as a preventative measure because especially flooded lead acid batteries, they like to be fully charged. That's the best thing for them. So but like I hardly or rarely here in Puerto Rico, I rarely use the generator. I really do. Before I used to use it more often, but I had less solar panels. So, but now, like with how much I've built up my system, I really don't really need the generator as much, or practically at all. But you got to size your system. Like right now, my system is more than enough for the things that I do. I run my entire house. I run the recording studio. But my system, maybe at your house, won't run everything because maybe you have a different lifestyle. So people need to build their solar systems according to what they do, to their lifestyle. Some people, with half of the system that I have could live off of it. You know what I mean? Some people, all they have is two batteries. I have seven in parallel, not counting the other batteries that I have like separate systems running different things in the house. So, like bathroom has its own little system with its own battery to run the water pump, and it has its own inverter in the bathroom. Then I have these little micro systems that I built like for the bedroom. Because at night, why am I gonna have a 2,000 watt inverter on? All I'm gonna do is, turn the light bulb on and maybe charge my phone while I watch Netflix or something. So it's really interesting though. But going off grid, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different than being on the grid. And you kind of like at first, you adjust to it, and then you learn. Then you learn how to do certain things. You don't want to hurt your system and overwork it either. So if I'm going, if I'm gonna vacuum, for example, then what I'll do is, I'll if my wife is gonna do something else, I'm like, hey, give me 10, 20 minutes so I can vacuum, and then you turn it on, whatever she's gonna run, and like that, the system doesn't suffer. But solar's great, man. Solar is really great, and what the hell is talking about there? Anyways, yeah, but solar is really great, and I recommend it. I recommend it because it's something, it's empowering, and you can live off of solar. You don't have to have a bill coming in anymore, and that's it. Now you do have to make some compromises. You know what I'm saying? You know, and if you don't want to make the compromises, then you have to really put some money into your solar system. Like if you want air conditioned 24/7, you can do it. You know, but your math better be right, and it's gonna cost you a pretty penny because air conditioners draw like a lot of power. You know, so you gotta like kind of rebuild the way you do things a little bit. But other than that, everything's normal. You know, everything's normal. So great, it's great. So, but like I said, that's my analogy. That's I guess the best thing that I could compare living on solar with. You know, it's power, but like prepaid. During the day, it's kind of as if you have unlimited, so it doesn't really matter. Then at night, after the sun goes down, then you can use your power if you have enough in storage. But you start doing things a little more sparingly. So anyway, guys, take care and God bless. I hope you guys found this video interesting. I have a lot of videos online about solar. If you might want to check that out. I did a whole series called Solar Power for Dummies, and it teaches you how to do all this stuff. You can do all this stuff yourself. So take care, guys. God bless, and may the solar be with you.